What is popping, guys, and welcome back to another video, and today we are talking about JRPGs. From the turn-based classics to the more recent action-oriented approach, there is no greater feeling than snuggling in for a 50-hour game with deep mechanics and engaging stories full of plot twists, but as always, we want more. So here's a list of upcoming JRPGs that we can't wait to get our hands on. Now, we touched on Final Fantasy 16 before in a previous video, but it's an upcoming action and role-playing game developed by Square Enix exclusively for the PlayStation 5. It's the 16th entry in the mainline Final Fantasy series and is being produced by Naoki Yoshi-P Yoshida and directed by Hiroshi Takai. The story is set to follow characters Clive, Joshua and Joe in a fantasy location known as Valisthea, where the world is controlled by 6 unique factions. Square Enix have been pretty dark on Final Fantasy 16 since announcement, but Yoshi-P mentioned that we should be getting more news this spring. With the successful Final Fantasy 14, it's safe to say that this project is in good hands, but we cannot wait to discover more about this game. Project Awakening is another exciting one on the list. Described as taking heavy influences from Monster Hunter and Dragon's Dogma, incredible RPGs with deep mechanics. It's being developed by Cygames and directed by Junji Tago, who previously had been working at Konami since the early 2000s, and was assistant director on the critically acclaimed Ground Zeroes and Metal Gear Solid 5. In a Famitsu article earlier this year, Ashihara, the Cygames CTO, and Junji Tago highlighted that Project Awakening is very much alive and being co-developed alongside their new engine. Project Awakening and the Solista game engine are being developed fully in tandem, so the direction of the game's development influences that of the engine and vice versa. In fact, he's at the helm of both projects at the same time. He believes that someone in a technical role, wanting to make an engine never seen before doesn't make much sense on its own, disjoined from wanting to create a fun game. On the other hand, as a director focused on the game, he would not be able to make full use of the capabilities of the engine if he did not keep in mind the technical side. He has an advantage of understanding both of these aspects of development, so he's aiming to achieve something that meshes them well. Ashihara mentions that photorealism is a kind of visual style that Cygames has never done before, so he's looking forward to the engine's completion. When it becomes fully operative, it will enable the company to develop more realistic games with a focus on lighting. Tago-san also mentions that unfortunately Cygames hasn't been able to share new information for a long time, but the visuals have evolved considerably since the last reveal. The newest installment in the beloved RPG series was officially announced as part of the 20th Kingdom Hearts anniversary. It sets Sora and his friends Donald and Goofy on a brand new adventure titled The Lost Master Arc, a brand new arc set after the events of Kingdom Hearts 3 and its RE-Mind DLC. No date or platforms yet, and in typical Square Enix fashion, we'll probably see this in like 5 years' time. Project MAGNUM, another exciting one on the list. It kind of looks like it might be a sort of Korean take on the looter shooter genre, which on paper sounds like a blast, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We all remember Anthem. We don't have much info on this besides the fact that Nexon are publishing and Nat Games are developing, but here's hoping we see some genuine co-op gameplay soon. Final Fantasy VII Remake was one of 2020's best games, but the ongoing remake series is just getting started. The first entry was set in the smoggy metropolis of Midgar and expands the first section of the original game into an incredible 40-hour adventure. In a post celebrating the 20th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII, producer Yoshinori Kitase confirms Square Enix will reveal Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 sometime in 2022. He says, "We just started the 20th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII, so we want to celebrate and get fans excited. So within the next 12 months, we want to share information." The first game's director Tatsuya Nomura previously confirmed via blog post that development was in full swing by November 2019. Granblue Fantasy Relink is an upcoming action role-playing game developed and published by Cygames as part of the Granblue Fantasy franchise. Granblue Fantasy Relink was announced in 2016 and initially developed as a collaboration between Platinum Games and Cygames. The game is set in the same fictional realm as the original Granblue Fantasy, but takes place in a different location, although some of the characters that you know and love will be appearing in this game. Now, I don't personally know much about Granblue's lore, but we absolutely loved our time of Granblue Fantasy Versus, and whilst Platinum is no longer attached to the development, this title seems to be shaping up incredibly well. Okay, hear me out. The ZELDA series has always been on the light side of RPGs. We can all agree that Breath of the Wild was as much as an RPG as it was an action adventure. And being literally developed by arguably the most famous Japanese development studio, it is literally a JRPG by default. I am not taking any arguments on this one. Breath of the Wild sequel might finally be around the corner with a tentative release date of spring 2023. We still don't know much about its mechanics or story, but the trailer seems to suggest we'll be venturing both into the skies and deep underground, so that means even more places to explore. Yes, believe it or not, Pokemon is also a JRPG series. Who would have thought? Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are upcoming RPGs developed by Game Freak and are the first installments in the 9th generation of the Pokemon game series. They're set to release later this year and are set to have open worlds which include urban areas and open wilderness without borders between the two. The game's introduced 3 new starter Pokemon, Sprigatito, Fuecoco, and Quaxly. We're pretty excited for this as it seems like they're going to cherry pick the best elements of Pokemon Arceus and fuse that with the existing Pokemon structure. XENOBLADE Chronicles 3 is an upcoming action RPG by industry veterans Monolith Soft. It's set after the events of XENOBLADE Chronicles 1 and 2. We still don't know too much so far, but expect gorgeous sweeping landscapes, an intricate battle system, and some wild plot twists. You can battle up to 7 characters, and just like in previous XENOBLADE Chronicles games, battles start by facing enemies directly in the overworld. Players control Noah's party of 6 as well as a few additional characters they can meet during their adventure, and each character has their own role in battle, which allows for diverse strategies. Whilst each party member also has their own specific classes, you can swap these at later points in the game so you can have a fully customized party experience. What's really interesting is the new intellect system, where each tag team of pairs, Noah and Mio, Lance and Cena, and Uni and Tyon, can make use of the interlink system when certain conditions are met. They will then combine into a giant form called an Ouroboros. Each Ouroboros has its own powerful moveset, and deciding when to transform can be the key to winning a battle. I love tactical RPGs, but this one here comes from the most unexpected of places. Metal Slug Tactics shouldn't exist, but it does, and we're very grateful for it. It's described as a tactical RPG with roguelike elements. Experience the iconic dynamic battles of the Metal Slug series with a brand new perspective. Build up your adrenaline bar to unlock super attacks and use them wisely. Gain some precious war experience after each battle and unlock weapons or bonus perks to upgrade your team's firepower. Choose between the iconic brothers in arms to create the perfect team to stop the war. Launch simultaneous attacks on your targets with the sync mechanic to do a lot more damage to enemies. Another interesting one on this list is the upcoming One Piece Odyssey. Not much is known about this turn-based strategy, but it's described as during their voyage, the Straw Hats, led by Monkey D. Luffy, are swallowed by a huge storm at sea. They end up on a mysterious island full of nature amidst the storm and become separated from each other. The crew sets out on a new adventurous journey filled with wonders of a raging nature, powerful enemies, and strange encounters with island locals. We're getting a sequel to Valkyrie Profile in the shape of Valkyrie Elysium, slated to arrive later this year. According to the game's description, a young Valkyrie is entrusted with the fate of the world by the All-Father, the highest of gods and ruler of all creation. She will face various enemies on her quest and must utilise a variety of weapons, magic, and the power of her allies to prevent Ragnarok, the destruction of the world. Square Enix promises an epic story, beautiful environments, and new fast-paced combat that incorporates the Valkyrie series' classic special attack and combo systems. EIYUDEN Chronicle 100 Heroes is designed to bring players a modern take on the classic RPG experience. It's described as a story of a world in a cruel age of death and betrayal, torn asunder by the flames of war. 2 men, once friends, both believing in a peaceful future, find each other on different paths, separated by ideology and battle standard. Digimon Survive sees a brand new group of teenagers led by Takuma Momozuka get lost on a school camping trip, finding themselves transported to a strange new world of monsters and danger. As they fight their way back home through an animated world of difficult decisions and deadly battles, player choices throughout the game will impact the evolution of their monster allies. Battles in the game are fought in 2D in a more classic SRPG style. I haven't watched or played Digimon in years, but I'm honestly genuinely happy to see that the series is still thriving. Live Like is a remake for Nintendo Switch and is scheduled to release later this year. The game follows 7 distinct scenarios scattered across different time periods, with 2 more unlockable scenarios linking the narratives together through the recurring antagonist audio. The gameplay is split between exploration and story-specific twists, and turn-based combat is played on a grid. It kind of has the vibe of Octopath Traveler with that HD 2D vibe, so if that's something that you're into, I definitely recommend you check this out. And if you like isekais and parkour, then Forspoken is one for you. It follows the journey of Frey, a young New Yorker transported to a beautiful and cool land of Athia. In search for a way home, Frey must use her newfound magical abilities to traverse the sprawling landscapes and battle monstrous creatures. Soul Hackers 2 is an upcoming RPG developed and published by Atlus. It's a sequel to Soul Hackers, which released in 1997, and it's the 5th installment in the Devil Summoner series, as part of the larger Megami Tensei franchise. It's a turn-based RPG and it features a battle system derivative of the press turn system featured in the mainline SMT games. So if you dig SMT 5 or even Persona 5, this is definitely a worthy addition to your collection. And finally, we have DIOFIELD Chronicle. It's another JRPG by industry specialists, Square Enix. It's described as a deep and immersive story brought to life with the latest graphics. It has a new system called Real-Time Tactical Battle, which is a new highly strategic real-time battle system. Being touted as the birth of a new SRPG, crafted by a skilled and experienced development team. The story synopsis is described as, the era of myths gives way to an era of great turmoil. The world of men is mired in an age of war which rages on for year on end. A band of elite mercenaries calling themselves Blue Fox arise amidst the flames of the chaos, their fates and valiant deeds to be sung into ages yet to come. But when all is said and done, will the name Blue Fox come to signify hope or the darkest tragedy? Not gonna lie to you, I literally have no idea what any of that means, but here's hoping the game's decent. And that's our list. Let us know what you're looking forward to. Let us know if we miss anything. And check out the following vids if you're looking for your next endgame fix. It's been a pleasure. Take it easy. Bye.